Hello, everyone. It's Evelyn Aka, founder of Aka Business Immigration Law. Thank you so much for joining me today on our LinkedIn Live. I'm going to be talking today about one of the most rewarding, but also one of the most misunderstood areas of Canadian immigration law, family sponsorship. Many Canadian permanent residents want to reunite with loved ones by sponsoring them a spouse, a common law partner, a same-sex partner, or a grandparent or a parent to Canada. But at the same time, we receive many questions about what happens if a relationship breaks down or circumstances change after you've submitted a sponsorship application. Today, I'm going to cover who can sponsor a family member, the differences between spousal sponsorship and parent sponsorship, what financial obligations sponsors must take on, and when a sponsorship can be withdrawn, and common mistakes to avoid. So let's get started. Part one is the family sponsorship. Family reunification is one of the pillars of Canada's immigration system. And through the family class, Canadian citizens and permanent residents may be able to sponsor eligible family members to become permanent residents of Canada. The goal is to reunite families while ensuring sponsors can financially support the relatives that they bring to Canada. Such as today, we're going to focus on two of the most common categories, spousal and partner sponsorship, as well as parent and grandparent sponsorship. So let's dig in and get started right away. So let's begin with spouses and common law partners and same-sex partners. You may be eligible to sponsor your spouse, your common law spouse, whether you're married or not married, as long as you live together for at least 1 year, or your conjugal partner in limited circumstances. To sponsor your spouse or common law partner, you generally must be at least 18 years of age. You must be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, or a person registered under the Canadian Indian Act. And you must agree to financially support your spouse or partner. You must not be receiving social assistance for reasons other than disability, subject to certain exceptions. And one important point is this is not simply a paperwork exercise. Immigration officers assess whether the relationship is genuine and was not entered into for immigration purposes primarily. You have to prove to them this is a legitimate relationship. This means applicants should expect to provide evidence such as photos together, a significant number throughout the course of the relationship, travel records showing you've traveled or joined each other, financial documentation, intermittent, that you're commingling finances, letters of support, proof of living together where applicable. Every relationship is unique, so the supporting evidence should tell your story about your relationship, and you must be able to prove to immigration this is a legitimate relationship. Sponsoring parents or grandparents is very different than the spousal sponsorship. Unlike spousal sponsorship, this program is not continuously open for new applications. And currently, Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada invites potential sponsors from its existing pool of people that have already submitted because they're so backlogged. And new expressions of interest are not accepted at all. At this point, they are not open. Sponsors must also meet the minimum necessary requirements for each of the required taxation years, 5 years, before they can sponsor parents or grandparents. This is because sponsors are making a long-term commitment to support their parents after they arrive in Canada. And most parents, when they come, will not be financially contributing to the economy. They won't be working. They may not be paying tax. So if you don't get selected under that category, the only option would be a temporary super visa, which would allow the parent or grandparent to come and visit, but they don't have any health coverage. They don't have permanent residence. They're only extended visitors under a super visa. What does sponsorship actually mean? One thing many people don't realize is that sponsorship is a legal commitment. When you sponsor someone, you are signing an undertaking with the Canadian government. That means you agree to financially support the sponsored family member for a specified period of time. For spouses and partners, the undertaking is usually 3 years from the day they become a permanent resident. For parents and grandparents, the undertaking lasts 20 years. everywhere in Canada, except for Quebec, where different rules apply when it comes to sponsorship. Even if your relationship changes or breaks down with your parents or with your spouse, you generally remain financially responsible during the undertaking period. And you need to be aware of this if you're going to do the spousal sponsorship. Can you withdraw a sponsorship? This is one of the questions we receive most often. The answer is it depends. It depends when you decide to withdraw the sponsorship. If Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada has not yet made a final decision, sponsors can generally request to withdraw their sponsorship application. Perhaps the relationship has changed or broken down. However, once the sponsored spouse or person becomes a permanent resident, you cannot simply cancel the sponsorship because the relationship ends or circumstances change. Your legal undertaking remains still in effect. For example, if a couple divorces shortly after permanent residence is granted, the sponsor may still be financially responsible under that undertaking, even if they are divorced or separated. Similarly, if your sponsored parents receive certain forms of social assistance during the undertaking 20-year period, the government may seek repayment from you, the sponsor, because you signed that undertaking. This is why it is so important that you take care to know exactly what it is you're trying to do. Some of the most common issues we see include not understanding the financial commitment and obligation you are signing. Assuming divorce automatically ends sponsorship obligations, or waiting too long to report changes to IRCC. Submitting insufficient relationship evidence is also a problem, or believing sponsorship is guaranteed because you're married. It is not. Every application is assessed individually on the merits and what you've provided. Preparation makes a tremendous difference for success. In closing, family sponsorship is one of the most meaningful ways to build your life in Canada, but it's also one of the most legally significant commitments you can make. Whether you're sponsoring a spouse, a partner, a parent, or grandparent, it's important to understand both your rights and your responsibilities before submitting an application. Be prepared. Understand what it means. If you're considering sponsoring a loved one, or if you're facing questions about withdrawing a sponsorship, we would be happy to help you understand your options at ACA Business Immigration Law. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to answering all your questions. Feel free to reach out. We're here for you. Take good care. Bye-bye.